Yes, I think I will simply put it this way. You see, there's no way you suddenly get stable electricity overnight. Of course, there's need for significant investment in the sector. As we speak, the World Bank is supporting, the power sector with about $1 billion, and even in the next 10 years, the private sector, the power sector is expected to attract roughly about $40 billion, foreign direct investment into the sector. And all of these are ultimately to guarantee stable electricity for Nigerians. So even right now as we speak, talking about 3,500 megawatts or 4,500 megawatts basically is just trying to describe what currently exists. And the essence of having all of this exercise, having to actually transfer ownership from the public sector to the private sector, is to guarantee improvement in the supply. And of course, even if you look at the current projection that the NIPP projects are going to actually supply about 10,000 megawatts, then the off-grid sources, like talking about solar, talking about wind, talking about coal and so on, other sources of power generation, that is off-grid, they are expected to equally bring on board about 10,000 megawatts, because there are other pockets of effort going on across the country in terms of power, generation and transmission and distribution. So we are talking about the aggregate. So there are pockets of efforts going on here and there. And you see, when the private sector ultimately come on board, just like what happens in the telecom sector, there will be injection of a lot of resources, a lot of capital, a lot of investment. And so the entire system is going to be overhauled. And over time, the issue of stable electricity is going to be a guarantee, for this country. So I want to believe strongly that all of the mathematics, all of the calculations, talking about needing about 40,000 megawatts and so on before we can have stable electricity, basically that is talking about the entire country. Not all the nooks and crannies of this country are currently connected to the national grid. Just like the Minister of Power, was trying to tell you. The truth is, we still have a lot of communities that are not connected. And so it will take some time before these communities will be connected. But we're talking about the status quo. We're talking about the people that are currently connected. What will be needful before they can have stable electricity. But the projection of about 40,000 megawatts is talking about the entire country. Every nooks and crannies of this country expected to have that kind of access to power. But that is not the case right now. So we have what is on the ground, and what is expected to be on the ground in the nearest future. So by and large, the entire country is going to be connected. Then you can now begin to talk about 40,000 megawatts demand, aggregate demand of power. But right now, the aggregate demand of power we are having currently is around 12,000 megawatts. So that is talking about those that are connected to the national grid. So by and large, if that is the case, then we can be rest assured that in the next 1 year, we'll have stable electricity.
I think good thing here, you just also highlighted some of the problems, knowing full well that some communities are still not connected to the grid. But some worry from some Nigerians saying that truly this is so important. It is very important that it works. I hope we will not go the same way. If we look at what some have already started sending in, this is coming in from Gwandotone, saying that hope this is not another Jokuta and Delta Steel in the making.
Okay, I want to respond, this way. You see, definitely in every process like this, there will be skepticism here and there. But I want to assure you that given the way and manner the entire process took off, there's no iota of doubt that this process is going to actually succeed logically. We're going to see to the logical conclusion and success of this entire exercise. Of course, we are having a process that has been started with transparency, accountability, and fairness, and so on. So it's going to continue. We have a very strong, viable regulatory agency, and supervisory agency like Bureau of Public Enterprises that is going to actually come very hard on any of the private sector, any of the private investor that is going to default in the entire process. And of course, you have a very strong, viable regulatory agency. Talking about NEC, the National Electricity Regulatory Agency is going to ensure that all the key players in the sector are going to be properly regulated and monitored to ensure that they offer what is expected of them to power consumers in this country, and equally guaranteeing that the consumers are not unfairly treated in the entire customer relation process or business conclusion or transaction process. So basically,
about the consumer now, that is very, very important. Just last week we had Dr. Sam Amadi here, and we had a series of complaints from consumer. How would you expect them to handle some of those issues coming in from the consumer as this kickoff operation?
Yes, it's going to be very simple. And yet not so simple. Why am I saying that? The power sector is a very unique sector. It's not like the telecom sector. But even at that, I can assure you that the private companies that are going to come on board are going to set up customer care centers that are going to address the issues as they come. It's not going to be business as usual. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be very, very robust. It's going to be very, very service-driven in nature. So it's going to be a different ballgame altogether. It's not going to be a situation whereby power will just go off without any form of pre-information or any form of what you call customer relation. So everything is going to be customer driven. The service is going to be customer driven because the customer is the king at the end of it all. The power consumers are going to serve as the kings in the entire process. So that is the major aspect we just have to celebrate, because if we don't have strong regulatory framework that will actually monitor the activities of these private investors, then you have cause to for concern, or you have every reason to fear, just like you raised. But the truth is, we have a very strong regulatory framework and a very robust management structure, headed by Sam Amadi, a very credible and competent fellow that will make sure that any of the defaulting private investors will be sanctioned accordingly. So there's no fear about that at all. If you agree with me, again, the telecom sector is a very good example. MTN, for instance, definitely we are not saying the entire system is 100% perfect, but of course you cannot compare it to what we used to have before. The MTN, the likes of MTN, Glo, and so on, came on board. So it's going to be similar experience, that when you compare what it is we've been having in the power sector and what we're going to have in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years, it's going to be a different ball game. You cannot even compare what it is you are going to enjoy in terms of service, in terms of competitiveness, in terms of investment, so there are so many things to enjoy at the end of it all.
It's difficult not to share optimism, but when you're talking about the privatization of the telecommunications sector, some people will tell you that what we did was kill one sector, one industry for the other. It would be up to them to define what they mean. But, talking about what has happened recently, some people are now talking about uncertainty hanging in the sector. Yes, the companies have been transferred, assets have been transferred to the new owners, but we all know that the most important asset is that of human resource, which is not certain. They're not certain as to where exactly they are right now, and a lot of people believe that is affecting service. Did we foresee this? And if we did, what are we doing to mitigate the effect it's going to have on people, especially in terms of power supply to their homes?